Another round of rain on the way. Homeowners may be wondering, what will my insurance cover when it comes to storm damage?
Consumer investigative reporter Kristine Lazar joins us with some answers. Kristine?
Jamie and Sheba, when it comes to storm damage, it can be complicated when it comes to what insurance will and will not cover. So to break it all down, I'm joined by insurance expert Karl Susman. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Sure, good morning.
So we've got another round of storms headed our way. When it comes to water damage from a storm, what does insurance, a typical policy, cover and not cover?
Well, it's important to try and distinguish between flood damage and water damage. So the basic rule of thumb is if the water is coming in from above, the roof, a window, something like that, that's typically going to be water damage, and that would be something that most homeowners policies cover. If it's coming in from the ground or seeping up from the ground, that's typically going to be flood damage, and that would need to be covered under a different policy.
So when you talk about like debris and mud flows, which obviously come with the water from the hillside, would regular policies cover that?
No, that would be something that would need to be covered under a flood insurance policy. And mudslide is an entirely different issue separate from that.
Okay, so do you suggest that Southern Californians, like who would you tell to have a separate flood policy?
What's interesting is flood insurance is not just through FEMA. It can be purchased by individual insurance companies. So what happens is if you're in an area that you don't think is a high risk for flood, you might be able to get a policy for flood insurance for $100 a year, $150 a year. So I tell everybody, it's worth having because if there is damage and when we have weather like this, it's just crazy. We don't know what to expect. It probably makes sense to either have a regular flood insurance policy if you're in a flood area, and even if you're not, because it's so inexpensive to get, to have that just to cover your bases.
So now what about vehicles? Because we see that often where they'll go, get damaged by a lot of water or something will fall on them. What does your auto insurance cover?
Auto insurance is going to cover physical damage to your car. If the car is parked and damaged, it would be typically covered under comprehensive coverage. If you're driving it and have an accident in the rain, that would just be under your standard collision coverage. But in general, things that are inside of the car would not be covered under the car insurance. That would be covered under their homeowners or condo or renters insurance policy.
Okay, so now let's talk about the downed trees. We see that so often here in Los Angeles, and a lot of times those trees are owned by the city, right? Not your neighbor. So what does insurance do when it comes to a downed tree coming either on your car or your property?
Well, what you want to do is take a deep breath because you don't have to deal with that aspect. Because if it's the city's tree or the neighbor's tree and you don't have control, what you want to do is file the claim with your insurance company, let them deal with it. They'll take care of the damage to your vehicle and they'll do what's called subrogate, meaning they'll go back to the responsible party, whether it be the city or your neighbor or whatever it might be, to recoup that money so hopefully it doesn't impact your premium.
And one more question, because I think so many people now are afraid to file a claim. They wonder if the claim itself will be less expensive than what their insurance will go up. So what's kind of the rule of thumb for that?
Right now the market is still fairly tight, although it is starting to loosen up somewhat. I would say that first of all, if it's under your deductible, check that. You obviously don't want to file the claim if it's under your deductible. And if it's a few $1,000s and you can comfortably pay it, it's probably better to do that. But if you're getting into the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 range, then you need to file that claim. And then again, if it's not something that you're responsible for and the insurance company does subrogate to get that money back, then it should not have an impact on your policy.
All right, Karl, thanks so much for breaking it all down. Hopefully everybody will be fine when this next round comes. Sheba and Jamie, back to you.